Good afternoon, my friends. Today is the start of a new era for New York City. It is Inauguration Day. It is also the day that the rent is due. At midnight last night, I swore my oath to become the mayor of New York City. Just a few hours ago, today, I celebrated with tens of thousands of New Yorkers. Many of them left our ceremony to return to houses and apartments that do not feel like homes, where bad landlords do not make repairs, where rents constantly rise, where roaches crawl in the hallways and heat in the chill of winter comes rarely, if ever. These New Yorkers voted for a new day for our city because the past one is clouded by housing insecurity and instability, where they cannot afford a life of dignity in the city that they love. Today, on the first day of this new administration, on the day where so many rent payments are due, we will not wait to deliver action. And we will stand up on behalf of the tenants of this city. Yes, we know we are fighting for a rent freeze. But that is not the extent of our efforts. We will also stand up for tenants, build new housing, and get New Yorkers into housing faster. Today, we are announcing 3 executive orders. The first will be to revive the mayor's office to protect tenants. We will not compromise on housing quality. If your landlord does not responsibly steward your home, city government will step in. We will make sure that 311 violations are resolved, and we will hold slumlords to account for hazardous and dangerous threats to your well-being. The second is to create a LIFT task force. LIFT stands for Land Inventory Fast Track, to leverage city-owned land and accelerate housing development. The task force will review city-owned properties and identify sites suitable for housing development no later than July 1st of this year. The last executive order is the creation of the SPEED task force. SPEED standing for Streamlining Procedures to Expedite Equitable Development. This task force will identify and remove bureaucratic and permitting barriers that drive up costs and slow housing construction and lease up, making it more affordable to build and easier to access housing across New York City. These 2 task forces will be overseen by our incredible Deputy Mayor for Housing and Planning, Leila Bozarg. These are sweeping measures, but it is just the beginning of a comprehensive effort to champion the cause of tenants too long ignored and homes too expensive. We are here today at 85 Clarkson Avenue. This building is owned by Pinnacle Realty, a notorious landlord whose name is all too familiar to far too many renters in New York City. Thank you. Tenants like Josie Wells, who we will... who we will hear from shortly, contend with a lack of heat, roaches, and the kind of conditions that no New Yorker should have to live through. This building and 92 others owned by the same landlord are in bankruptcy proceedings. And they are set to be auctioned off to a different landlord, one who ranks number 6 on the worst landlord list in New York City. In those buildings alone, there are more than 5,000 open hazardous violations and 14,000 complaints. This is an untenable situation. So today we are announcing that we will be taking action in the bankruptcy case. Stepping in to represent the interests of the city and the interests of the tenants and say, once and for all, who this government will be fighting for. I have directed my nominee for Corporation Counsel, Steve Banks, to take precedent-setting action in the bankruptcy case on behalf of the renters of this building and of the thousands of other renters across New York in similar situations. We are a creditor and interested party. The city is owed money that Pinnacle never paid. And we will fight for New Yorkers' interests to safe and habitable homes. In doing so, we will protect tenants already long neglected from further neglect. And we will mitigate the significant risk of displacement they currently face. For too long, bad landlords have been allowed to mistreat their tenants with impunity. That ends today. No longer will government turn a blind eye as working-class New Yorkers, many of them in neighborhoods of color, are treated as pawns in a game where landlords never feel the consequences of those kinds of actions. Lastly, but certainly not least, you cannot hold such violations of the law to account unless you have a proven, principled, and tireless fighter at the helm. That is why I am proud today to announce my friend, Sia Weaver. As the director of the newly reinvigorated mayor's office to protect tenants. Sia has a peerless record of standing up for tenants in our city. As the director of Housing Justice for All, she has fought in Albany to deliver pro-tenant legislation, from stronger rent laws to good cause eviction to more affordable housing for all New Yorkers. We are creating the mayor's office to protect tenants, with Sia leading the charge because this work has too long been relegated to an afterthought. We fight hard to win new rights for tenants across this city, only to find that those tenants are never told of those rights. Millions of tenants across this city are eager for a day when their needs are no longer ignored and forgotten by those in power. Today marks that new era for this city, one where we will follow through on the promises we have made and where we stand up for those who have too often been left to stand alone. I want to thank every tenant who is joining us today, and I want to thank Sia Weaver for joining in this work. It is now a great pleasure and an honor of mine to introduce the new Executive Director of the Mayor's Office to Protect Tenants, Sia Weaver.
Hi, everybody. Hi. I can't believe we're here. I want to thank Mayor Mamdani. If it's first, it said Mayor-elect Mamdani, but then we got to delete that. For this extraordinary appointment And I want to thank all the members of the Union of Pinnacle Tenants who came out today, and all the other tenants here in this room who are struggling for self-determination in the face of real uncertainty and fear as these buildings go through bankruptcy. And I am so happy to say with certainty that there's a mayor who is on your side. 7 years ago or more, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, Zohran was not yet in office, but he was thinking about his future, our future, everyone's future, and he asked me what the most ambitious thing a new member of the New York State Assembly could do to protect tenants from price gouging, unsafe living conditions, and from landlords who demand way more than their fair share. And since then, he's stood alongside us with a principled and steadfast vision, and I'm so honored to join this administration and to deliver on the affordability agenda alongside him. The affordability agenda starts with the rent. Too many New Yorkers are worried about the first of the month today. They're worried about paying for costs, even though our conditions are bad and getting worse. A rent freeze in the face of the fact that our living conditions are worsening every single day makes so much sense. New York is a majority tenant town. 70%. We are bus drivers, childcare workers, grocery store staff, teachers, nurses, and we're the people who take care of the shared city that we all live in. Every month on the first of the month, like today, when we pay our rent, we're the ones who are ensuring that the lights come on and our city moves forward. Over the last 15 years, I've worked with many people in this room to build powerful tenant associations, neighborhood organizations, and statewide coalitions with one goal in mind, ensuring that tenants have a collective voice in the day-to-day decisions that impact their lives. And I am really excited to continue that work now in this new role, starting today. It is going to be challenging. New York is home to some of the most valuable real estate in the world, and everything about New York politics is about the fact that our land is really valuable. It's worth a lot of money to a lot of too few people, honestly, and we're fighting over it. I know that we can do it. I know that we can build a more equitable and affordable city because nobody loves their neighbors more than tenants love their neighbors. Even if you're kind of annoyed that your neighbor is taking a bath and it's coming into your apartment. The solidarity that I've experienced in a tenant association where people from all different backgrounds come together to fight together against leaks or rats or for safety, affordability, a say in what happens every day is the strongest solidarity I've ever experienced. I've been so blessed to be part of the tenant movement in New York City. It's brought me into rooms I never would have been in otherwise, and I can't wait to keep doing this work with you guys. I know that no one stands up for New Yorkers more than tenants stand up for New Yorkers, and no one stands up for the New Yorkers in this building more than Josie Wells. So thank you, Josie, for opening us up into your home today. It sort of turned it into a zoo. But thank you, and I'm going to pass it to you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. The other day, I found myself rereading James Baldwin's essay, Fifth Avenue Uptown. It's a piece I've returned to many times, but this time, one passage stopped me cold. Baldwin writes, "They patiently browbeat the landlords into fixing the heat, the plaster, the plumbing. This demands prodigious patience, nor is patience usually enough. In trying to make their hovels habitable, they are perpetually throwing good money after bad. Such frustration, so long endured, is driving many strong, admirable men and women whose only crime is color to the very gates of paranoia. He wrote those words 65 years ago in 1960, yet they read as if they were written for this very moment. Today, in many Pinnacle apartments, you'll find dirty walls that haven't seen a fresh coat of paint in years, cabinets hanging precariously in kitchens and bathrooms, cracked plaster zigzags across ceilings and hallways. And disturbingly, these are among the least shocking conditions that tenants endure. These living conditions are not abstract to me. I grew up in this building and have watched it fall into disrepair. In my mother's apartment, a section of the hardwood floor has rotted. Despite repeated complaints to the landlord, that patch of flooring remains crumbly, discolored, and unrepaired. It has been that way for 7 years, long before Pinnacle filed for bankruptcy this spring. Pinnacle gambled on making our housing less affordable and our lives more miserable. Now, having failed, they want to auction off our homes to yet another corporate slumlord. But Pinnacle tenants across the city refuse to accept this cycle of neglect. We banded together to demand safe, stable homes where we can live with dignity. I stand shoulder to shoulder with tenant associations recently formed across more than 50 buildings in Flatbush, Crown Heights, Park Slope, Harlem, Washington Heights, Inwood, Astoria, and Jackson Heights. In that fight, the Union of Pinnacle Tenants learned a thing or two about how to make a ruckus. Lessons passed down by the Crown Heights Tenants Union. The grassroots organizing CHTU began 13 years ago has grown into something far larger than anyone could have imagined. That swelling sound became a symphony, and from it emerged a Union of Pinnacle Tenants. And in this orchestra, I found my voice. And I have learned that when you make noise, or as the late great civil rights activist John Lewis said, when you get in good trouble, some will dismiss it as just that, but others will lean in and listen. That is why the Union of Pinnacle Tenants is deeply honored that one of the very first acts Mayor Mamdani has taken is to visit a Pinnacle building, stand in solidarity with our fight, and announce the creation of the mayor's office to protect tenants. Mr. Mayor, thank you for listening. Today, we feel heard. And I'll now pass it back to Mayor Mamdani.
It's about an executive order that you also just announced. You're revoking all executive orders, I understand, that were issued after September 26th, 2024, which was the date of Eric Adams' indictment. I'm wondering, why was that date picked, and what orders in particular issued by Eric Adams after that were problematic to you?
We speak about this day as a new era. And in order for us to fulfill the hope that that language engenders, we have to reckon with why so many New Yorkers have turned away from politics over the last few months, the last few years, the last few decades. And that was a date that marked a moment when many New Yorkers decided that politics held nothing for them. but more of the same. And what we are showcasing here in this moment is not only how we will stand alongside the New Yorkers who have been left behind, but also the structures we will create such that New Yorkers in this room and outside of it can know the truth of that commitment. This is an office and an executive director that will be tasked with delivering for these tenants, that will be empowered to deliver for these tenants. And I stand also alongside a state assembly member who has ensured that this work, this struggle, this issue is one that is never lost in the headlines of this city.
What were some of the executive orders from Eric Adams issued after September 26th, though, that were especially problematic? One of them, for instance, created his Office of Anti-Semitism to combat anti-Semitism. Was that one you viewed as especially problematic that you wanted to get rid of?
In our second executive order, we write about the structure of city government, and that structure also includes the continued incorporation of the Office to Combat Anti-Semitism. That is an issue that we take very seriously, and is part of the commitment that we've made to Jewish New Yorkers to not only protect them, but to celebrate and cherish them. What I would say about the executive orders at large that were issued after that date is they are ones that time and time again come up against the interests of working class people and what they need from their mayor.
Two questions. The first one.
Sorry they took you off the press list.
That's okay. Two questions. The first one, there was a pretty big tax the rich chant. I know a lot of your supporters like it. The governor doesn't love that phrase. Could you maybe speak to that divide and where that fits among your priorities going forward?
You know, I have said over the course of our campaign, and I will now say as the mayor of this city, that the two most straightforward ways to raise revenue, to not only take on the fiscal challenges that we are inheriting, but also to fulfill the affordability agenda that we have been running on, is by raising taxes on the 1% of New Yorkers who make $1 million a year, by an additional 2%, and by raising the state's top corporate tax rate to match that of New Jersey. And in this, we would raise $9 billion, and we put this forward because it is critical in a moment like this to not allow fiscal challenges to become an excuse for austerity, but instead to respond to them with the seriousness they deserve and the ambition that New Yorkers require, such that we not only protect what they have today, but ensure that they have more tomorrow.
The second question, is Anthony Miranda going to remain sheriff of New York as your mayor?
We haven't made any additional personnel commitments, but as soon as we do, we will share them.
Yeah, hi. Two good things. One, the precedent-setting action that you're directing the corp council to take, can you just elaborate on like what specifically that is, what power the city might have here? And then also...
Let's do that one first,
Okay.
and I promise we'll get to this. And I'll just bring up my nominee for Corporations Council, Steve Banks.
I remember the late 1980s and the early 1990s when hundreds of families living in two shelters were in buildings that were tied up in bankruptcy court. And I represented those tenants along with the city of New York, putting forward the city of New York's concerns in the bankruptcy court. And the end result in those two litigations was that those buildings became permanent, affordable, supportive housing. One of them is known as Geffner House on 42nd Street, and the other is the Times Square in Times Square. That kind of creativity resides within the law department, and we will be working with the law department lawyers to do what is in the best interest of New Yorkers in that bankruptcy case. The same as so many years ago, we came up with a pathway forward when people said it was not possible.
And then I know you've been asked about this, but now that you're officially mayor, we did see Eric Adams take action seemingly to block one of your core promises of freezing the rent by adding new appointing to the rent guideline board. What is the plan there at this point? Are you concerned it's going to affect this core promise of yours in year one?
I continue to be confident that the Rent Guidelines Board will assess the landscape for tenants of rent-stabilized units across this city and find that they are in dire need of relief. What we have seen in the last year is that they found that while the profits of landlords of rent-stabilized units went up by 12%, the median household income for those same tenants was $60,000 a year. And what we are speaking about is a reflection of what we have already seen, and I continue to be confident in that board.
Go back to Mr. Banks. Can you just say you're going to intervene in this bankruptcy? What are you going to specifically ask the court? What is the purpose of this intervention? Beyond, I know the goal is for the interest of the tenant. What specifically are you going to do in furtherance of that goal if you get to intervene?
First of all, the city of New York is already in the bankruptcy proceeding because the city of New York is a creditor. There's substantial fines and tax issues that are outstanding. And look, elections matter. And the position that the city has taken, the mayor's directed me to take another look at it. And I have confidence with the creative lawyers, as I said before, in the law department, that we'll come up with a way to not only address the financial needs of the city in terms of the collection of property taxes and the fines, but also so the path forward with the tenants is one in which they can live in buildings that have appropriate conditions. We did it before, the city of New York, together with the Legal Aid Society in the late 1980s and the early 1990s. We're going to apply that same creativity in a proceeding in which the city is already part of the proceeding.
You're already in as creditor, so you're going to make sure the city gets paid. But again, I just didn't hear a specific thing of what you want to do for the tenants here. Are you going to keep them in the building if they get bought? I mean, something concrete. What are you asking the court here?
Let me be clear. I have been a lawyer for 44 years, 45 years, I guess, at this point. I have always wanted to confer with my clients, the deputy mayor, the person who was just appointed as head of this terrific office. She's just been appointed a few minutes ago. I want to understand very clearly what they would like us to say in the court. And then as good lawyers, the law department will move forward with what they would like us to do. But I think it is a very important moment now, today, for the city of New York to say, we're going to be in that proceeding in a way in which the path forward is not simply trying to address the city's interests, but the city's interests are also bound up with the tenants' interests.
Just before you go, I'm just going to add one thing, which I think Steve alludes to, which is that the city of New York has not lacked for tools or tactics. The city of New York has lacked for intent. And that is what we are changing today.
Mr. Mayor, Anthony Carlo with WABC. Just want to ask you about the LIT task force that you talked about, leveraging city-owned land for housing development. Can you just elaborate on how this is specifically different from some ambitious plans we've seen in previous administrations to build affordable housing?
So the last administration had a similar executive order that expired in December. So in this example, we're going to be looking, or with this task force, we're going to be taking an even deeper look, especially for sites that aren't clearly available for housing right now. So they may already have other city facilities on them, other public facilities, or even private facilities that we're in contract for. So it's about trying to find new opportunities for housing, doing a deeper dive into the entire city's inventory, not just the inventory of the housing department or the Economic Development Corporation, the traditional agencies that produce housing. We're going to look at all city facilities and try to identify more sites that could be used for housing.
Examples of some certain facilities that you might convert into housing?
Well, where we did the announcement a couple weeks ago when I was appointed, that's the type of facility we might look for. That was a sanitation garage that we found a new site for. That's the type of example where instead of putting new capital dollars into fixing that sanitation garage, it was actually identified as an appropriate site for housing. So we put money into creating a new sanitation facility to clear the site in order for housing to be built. So that's the type of thing we'll be looking for.
Thank you. All right, now the mayor is going to sign our executive orders.
down. Bring the phone down.
Everybody ready? Okay. Here we go.
Jason, you good?